Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. It's time to have a look at another devblog for the next major update, and this time it's the ZSU-23-4M2. This is another shilka, which is coming to the USSR tech tree, but this one's going to be at rank 5, a little bit lower than other ones, and the reason for that is because it doesn't have the radar. This is specifically just designed for the guns, and that's about it, so it'll be interesting to see how they balance this one, because the shilka itself actually does have a lot of firepower behind it, but of course, vehicles have to get pretty close in order for you to effectively use it. And at rank 5, you're probably in that early jet, late prop area, and it should be pretty deadly. As always, if you enjoy this type of content, make sure to subscribe, and let's get into the vehicle history. During the course of the Afghan war, the 23mm Shilka SBAA proved to be a good escort vehicle for tank columns, where its high-firing automatic guns were used to fend off ambushes. Soon after, a special variant of the Shilka with no radar and increased ammunition capacity of 4,000 rounds was developed and produced at the Ulyanovsk mechanical plant. In total, 18 ZSU-23-4M2 vehicles were produced, and in 1999, several more modified to the M2 level to equip to the Russian army. So when I look at the attributes of the ZSU-23-4M2, I see a shilka which has kind of shed itself of its worst part of it. So this shilka only having access to its guns and not having to its radar might be a blessing instead of a curse. If you've ever actually played the shilka, the actual worst part of it is the radar. The search radar is incredibly slow. You can make it a 360-degree radar if you really want to, but it's generally not great to do. The other part is the tracker that's on it is incredibly unreliable, so therefore what you have to do is rely on the burst fire of the guns in order to put enough bullets into the air to be able to stop the plane coming in. Now, they kind of fix this with adding iglas to it, and obviously having the other variant that's in the Soviet tech tree, so therefore you have a long range and also a short range capability. The 23s at short range, usually you don't want to engage air targets with them unless they're within maybe 1.5 kilometers of you. And then also you have the igla, which is pretty good at range and therefore can work pretty well. The standard shilka struggles because of the fact that the search radar is unreliable and people can massively outrange your guns. And this happens a lot with the 23s. It even happens a lot with the 30mm nowadays, especially with certain helicopters. So if you have a look at the ZSU-23-4M2, now that it's shed itself of the radar, it's going to be a much lower BR, because the radar is seen as a quite nice component. But for me, what I see is it being going down in BR, giving it an opportunity to fight more vehicles, which have to get closer to it in order to be able to do damage. So therefore, it actually boosts the effectiveness of the 23mm. This one will be a really nice SPAA in the USSR tech tree, who have also got a lot of really good AAs recently. Of course, the M53, the BTR-ZD, the Panzer, they're very much in a great position for SBAAs, and this one I think will also be pretty good. The only issue will be early helicopters, since you'll still get outranged by stuff like the Alouette, and even stuff like CCIP bombs might be a bit of a problem, but most of the time you'll be able to deal with it, since there won't be a ton of guided ordnance flying around the place. From an anti-tank point of view, the shilka's always been pretty weak. The AP on the 23s does not have a lot of penetration. The thing you're looking for with the shilka is lowering people's frame rate and not exactly destroying them. As it goes lower in BR as well, if it actually gets around those heavy tank BRs of, 7.3 to 5.7 or 7.3 to 6.7, that basically means that its guns aren't going to be as powerful against those vehicles, but there's still a bunch of light vehicles around those BRs that you can fight with. So I think overall, its effectiveness on the ground will still be fine. You'll also still have artillery support and all of those other things, but since it's an SBAA, the main thing you're supposed to look at is, of course, its anti-CAS potential. And with a very good targeting speed, which has always been one of the great things of the shilka, and also just the amount of fire that you can put in the air, and thanks to the fact that they're adding you know, an extra 2,000 rounds worth of ammunition. You will have to reload them, though, so I'm guessing the reload's going to take ages, but at least it's there. It basically means that you can fill the air full of metal, and then hopefully the planes will run into it. Very similar to a few other vehicles, where the idea is just to put a big burst of rounds into an area and hope the enemy goes in. And since you have a really good targeting speed, at the same time, it will be able to, you know, counter if it misses, and then readjust and fire again. This one should actually be really good, and the only thing that's going to suck about it is the same thing that sucks with the other Shilkas, where you face weaponry systems that outrange you. But the lower and lower BR you go, the less of that stuff you actually see. Now, the other thing to also mention is, does Russia need another SBAA? Around this BR, they have the ZSU-23-4M2, which isn't really an SBAA. It is, of course, a tank destroyer, and they do also have a bunch of other stuff which is around as well, which can be used as SBAAs. There's also a lot of their mediums and heavy tanks that start having machine guns on the top of them. And when you look at other nations, such as America, they don't really have anything around these BRs which could be seen as SBAAs. So it's really weird that for the Soviets, we've had the BTR-ZD, the M53-59, two variants of the Shilka, the Panzer, and even other vehicles as well to try and fill out these BR gaps. And for America, for example, we have still on nothing when it comes to that area of around, is it 30 or 40 to the 77. There is nothing bridging that gap, and it just sucks. So when you see another vehicle come in for Russia, which does a very similar role to what we've seen other ones do, plus they have support from their CAS and also from their tanks, you always have to wonder, shouldn't other nations be being prioritized? I understand that when it comes to this vehicle, it is quite easy to put it in. All you got to do is take off the radar, and there you go. Easy peasy. Just like the Shigler, where all you have to do is put on Iglers. But at the same time, surely that can be done for American stuff too. Surely that can be done for other nations which have these SBA gaps as well. Surely there are options which are available. So that is more what I'm looking forward to in the future. This vehicle will be fine. It'll fit any lineup that you decide to put in, and it will do its job quite effectively. The only question is, where is this type of vehicle for other nations? And that's where the story breaks down a little bit. As always though, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank GMG Smiley, CD Beans, Chieftain Mike, EMN3 Galaxy, Tulio Pontecovo, Brendan Quinn, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Wartinder, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, Ozzy Panzer, Alan Hacker, Liam Shear, Opium Prime, Lafouche, Sem, Aslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R. for supporting the channel.